Again, here we are. I woke up this morning and getting ready to come here, and on my Facebook memory said, "Hey, a year ago, you were at FERC." I'm asked, no, been here a lot, too many times. So a month ago, I was here, and talking about this dispute that I've been having with MVP over the organic designation and how they mistreat landowners and my farm. And then I had a meeting that afternoon. I actually got to bump into Commissioner Clements. Couldn't talk about certain things, but her staff I did. People from OPP helped some to get some meetings. So I had another meeting with him a couple of weeks ago, maybe a couple of weeks after that. It turned out to be just an online meeting because the building here was closed for some reason. And so MVP is still not telling the truth. They're hanging on to words, technical. And I'm not technically an organic farm, although I haven't used any chemicals since 1993, and my aunt next door since at least the year 1990. We've had signs along the property since at least 1990. They know that I'm an organic farm, so I had to prove it. And I just finished putting together another document which I submitted to FERC last night. Has about 60 pictures, 50, 60 pictures. I went through 10,000 pictures to find the ones I wanted to use, to show that MVP absolutely knows that I'm an organic property, and they have to treat it as such. So enough of that. That's enough about that. I'm actually on the way to the National Organic Advisory Board meeting in Milwaukee that starts this weekend, because organic farmers and farmers across this country are pretty much livid. This is not MVP that does this. It's basically the fossil fuel industry that disrespects landowners and landowners' rights, and it's got to stop. And I told them I don't want to be, I'm not a huge organic farm. I don't sell a lot of stuff. It's mostly for my own protection. I give away food. Mostly I don't sell much. But it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Protecting our lives and our environment and our health is our right and our decision. The fossil fuel industry doesn't have the right to decide these issues. They may get the right, and that's questionable if they can actually build these pipelines legally, but they do not have the right to disrespect landowners, and it has got to stop.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, one more development happened here on the MVP, and I'm here to talk about that briefly. On Earth Day, the day to celebrate the Earth and taking care of the Earth, MVP decides to give a great big middle finger to the Earth, and they asked FERC to allow them to commission their pipeline on Earth Day. You would think they would be a little bit more aware. These good neighbors that they so proclaim to be, on Earth Day say, hey, we know the pipe. We've rushed to put this pipe in. We know there's degraded pipe. We know that we haven't even fully complied with that consent decree. So we want to hurry up and put the gas in the pipe so that, in my opinion, so it'll blow up sooner. So I have a little statement. Most of them will paraphrase our great friend Jessica Sims with Appalachian Voices. On Earth Day, MVP decided it would be a really good day to show their disgust for the environment. She didn't say that, I said that. And therefore asked FERC to allow them to put the extremely dangerous and necessary MVP into service by June 1st. Now, Jess basically had this to say. In a manner typical of its ongoing disrespect for the environment, MVP has asked FERC on Earth Day to place its dangerous, unnecessary pipeline into service. in late May. MVP brazenly asked for this authorization while simultaneously notifying them that the company has completed less than 2/3 of the pipeline to full restoration. That's something they have to do on my farm yet. I've taken a bunch of pictures here recently of pipes still above ground. Just continued, MVP will notify FERC when it fully complies with the...
That will be never.
You can't write this stuff. Comedy Central, you need to get MVP to write for you. MVP will notify FERC when it fully complies with the consent decree with PHMSA reached last fall. That was the consent decree that allowed MVP to put this expired, corroded pipe into the ground that most experts say should not go in the ground. Most of the experts that I've talked to says it shouldn't go in the ground. So that allowed the MVP to build a pipe with substandard, dangerous, and degraded pipe. Finally, Jessica Sims of App Voices said requesting an in-service date by May 23rd leaves the company very little time to implement the safety measures required by the decree. What is the rush, MVP? MVP is trying to satisfy capacity, customers, contracts, putting finances. I'm saying this, not Jess, but we all know this. MVP is putting their shareholders, their customers, way ahead of the safety of the community or the environment. And with that said, you can check out App Voices, Fire Coalition, DXE, Preserve Mineral on Facebook. We'll put you how you can make comments to tell FERC no. I would say hell no, but you're not supposed to say that. Tell FERC no. And we need to keep putting pressure on PHMSA to make them do better. And I'm heading to the National Organics Advisory Board after I go to this meeting, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Safety first. This is how you do proper restoration of site. You leave it cleaner than you found it. MVP just learned a thing from Rory. More than a thing. Thanks, Maury.
Thanks, Maury.
Thank you, Maury. So I'm Drew Hudson from Beyond Extreme Energy 198 Methods again. Back again at FERC. As Maury said, we're here a lot this spring. This is our spring UnFrackFERC campaign. We're going to take the frack right out of FERC. Take the piss if you were in England. We're here. We have a couple of specific issues this month. Maury was mentioning MVP is actually back on the docket. They are asking FERC again for continued permission to keep operating that pipeline, to put it into service, even though they're not done building the dang thing yet, let alone restoring the land as they're supposed to do. Another thing that's not on the FERC docket this month and on the agenda, but is under consideration at FERC, the issue I'm going to talk about is the ISO New England forward capacity auction. So ISO New England is the regional body of all the New England states, Connecticut, Maine, Vermont, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, that all work as a common market for electricity. And they put out a thing called a forward capacity auction 5 years in advance that lets power producers like power plants and solar power and batteries and everything else bid into the market so that they can provide power 5 years in advance, and you can get paid in advance. You guarantee that you can provide power from 5 years from now, you get paid up front. This already creates a huge built-in incentive for fossil fuel power plants because, of course, fossil gas is very easy to turn on and off. We know that. Technically, solar power is very easy to turn on and off now. You just have to have a battery connected to it, too. But that's a newer technology. FERC isn't as familiar with it. So historically, the forward capacity auction has really, really benefited fossil fuel production in New England. Even though if you look, ISO New England has a spot on their website where you can look at where the power is coming from at any given moment of the day. And during the daytime hours when the sun is up, more than 40% of the power in New England is coming from solar power, and more than 20% is coming from batteries. But we're spending most of our money to subsidize fossil gas plants that might need to turn on if there's a sudden surge in electricity demand. And that's what the forward capacity is all about, is letting these people get paid upfront for fossil fuels that otherwise would not be affordable and will not be needed 5 years from now. Remember, 5 years from now, every one of the states in the ISO New England region has a carbon reduction plan and a renewable energy standard. They're all supposed to be at zero emission electricity by 2030. And you're not going to get to zero emission electricity by 2030 if in 2029, 5 years from now, you're still buying a ton of electricity from fossil gas power plants. So No Coal, No Gas New England and a bunch of the other groups submitted comments onto the FERC docket asking them to reject the forward capacity auction. And FERC has the ability to do that. They can look at the auction, and if they agree with us that this is not a prudent use of ratepayer money to pay fossil fuel power plants in advance for power that we don't want and won't need 5 years from now, they can reject the auction results and make ISO New England go back and do it again, and that's what we want them to do. So we've submitted a bunch of comments on that. We haven't heard from FERC. We know our comments have been received, but they haven't ruled on the case yet, so we'll wait and see. But that brings us to the last project we're going to talk about briefly today is the GTN Express. We've got one of their banners over here, which folks may have seen earlier this month. FERC approved the GTN Express pipeline, even though every member of the congressional delegations from Oregon and Idaho and the impacted communities said no, they didn't want them to approve the pipeline, even though those states that would be served by the GTN Express pipeline, like Oregon and California, already have zero emission goals that say they're not going to use more gas 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. They still approve the pipeline. Nobody wants GTN Express except FERC. But all you need to build a pipeline and make money is FERC's permission. And so that's why they come to this agency that just rubber stamps their permits. And did somebody find the Allison Clement's tweet? We were going to read a brief statement from her dissent. Somebody got it? You got it?
I got it, but I'll lose the live stream if I switch to it. So let's see. Yeah.
Still have it on Facebook.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to stop this live stream, I think.
We're going to stop the Twitter live stream so Andy can read his phone.
Yeah.
But, Commissioner Clements, one of the three FERC commissioners, and the only one who's voted even partial dissents on gas projects for the last
Oh, heck.
months.
Somebody hold my phone. I'll just paraphrase it.
Is that the gist?
Yeah, so what Allison Clement posted on Twitter right after FERC approved the GTNX pipeline was, kind of a scathing dissent, saying that FERC is myopic. They don't look at all the variables when they approve these expansions that they've been approving around the country. And that was basically the crux of her statement, that FERC is myopic. They're not looking at everything they should, and these things that they're approving are not in the public good. And FERC doesn't even take the time to make sure that they are. So one thing I'll add to that is the point about that is GTNX is an expansion where they're putting in some like larger diameter pipe and some extra compressor stations, and they're just pumping more gas. And they're doing this all over the country, and every single month there's about 3 of these projects approved. And so between that and their LNG export facilities, in the past 2 years, they've approved like almost 90 coal plants worth of new methane infrastructure, a lot of them expansions like GTNX. And the problem with that is that those expansions are displacing the transition to solar plus battery that should be happening but are not, because FERC keeps approving this methane expansion. So it's a real problem. And the reason that it's happening is because our monopoly utilities are corrupt. They were granted monopoly status back in the 20s to build out our grid, and they were supposed to be watched, and this agency is part of their job to watch over the electric utility monopolies, and they're failing. The monopolies are a mess. They're taking advantage of ratepayers all over the country, even in a supposedly progressive state like Maryland. It's awful. So I encourage you to pay attention to your electric bill. I live in Maryland, a progressive state. state, and supposedly we have a renewable portfolio and things like that. And it's like 7% of my electricity is clean if I take the standard service. That's ridiculous. All over the country, we should be way ahead of that, like California is. So, yeah, FERC needs to actually do their job and stop approving all this. So, yeah, sorry.
That's great. And that's it for our speed analyst. Do we have anybody else who wants to make a quick comment? Yeah, come on up. Yes, sir.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Lisa Finn from Third Act, representing Third Act DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And I just wanted to say that I'm here because FERC needs to do better. We are in a climate emergency. And we have done everything we can. We have petitioned, we have emailed, we have shown up, we have disrupted. And it's not working yet. So we have to do other things. And other things in our toolbox could be nonviolent direct action. And I want to give a bit of a plug in that. Up in New York City, they're going to be doing a big action, elder action. Third Act is part of the elder, is made up of elders. And Elder Day is June 13th, and we're going to be up there with 50 rocking chairs and hopefully 500 elders stopping business as usual at these financial institutions that are funding fossil fuel industry. I also want to give a plug out to folks who are actually putting their bodies on the line to stop the infrastructure that's happening, particularly folks who are out in the Mountain Valley Pipeline down in Southwest Virginia. And I would like to read a little bit of a thing that one of the people who actually was blocking, she locked down to a mountain, and she was there for 3 days, and then she got thrown in jail with no bail for 8 days, and yeah, so that's kind of her little, I'm going to read a little bit about her, just a minute. Her name's Bramble, in quotations, person near and dear to my heart. It's day 2 of the Sleeping Dragon action. On Poor Mountain. I woke up to a beautiful sunrise and blankets of clouds in the valley. I got to see birds soaring at eye level and feel the moisture in the air that makes Appalachia so vibrant. Workers came by my spot today and took away my supplies, hoping that I would leave. In the end, though, they can't take away the view I have from up here. I can see so much of what we are up against. I can see the pipelines, easement for miles. There are machines that destroy the forest. And the Western Virginia Regional Jail, where Wren and Acre were held for months after they were extracted from the yellowfinch tree sits, along with so many others who are unjustly incarcerated. The mountains and wild forests surrounding all that evil is so much bigger, and it's untamed. Yesterday, a security guard accused me of choosing the most treacherous part of the pipeline route to block. He's right, it is steep up here. The mountains themselves have been a crucial part of the resistance to the MVP. Construction struggles with the steep slopes and waterways. MVP left the most difficult spots along the route for last, and that is a mistake, but is going to cost them as the resistance continues on. Yeah. And MVP thinks that it's going to be over and that they're going to have that pipeline going by June 1st. It is not happening.
No way.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Bramble, for all your service in the mountains. Anybody else have other comments you wanted to add before we head into the FERC meeting? Great. So I'll just close by saying they're on the website 198methods.org. There's a spot where you can use FERC's e-comment tool. Our friend Marla calls this malicious compliance. We send in comments to FERC not because we think that their system is good or that they will necessarily listen to us, but so, as Lisa was saying, when we take direct action, when we sit in the streets or we blockade the doors or we blockade the pipeline construction route, we can say, we did it the nice way first. We sent you all the letters, we sent you all the emails and comments, you ignored everything we said, we told you this would happen, and here we are. And so if you want to send in, there's docket numbers on the website for the MVP. If you want to send a comment supporting Lori or the broader MVP fight, which is on the agenda this month, and for the ISO New England for capacity auction as well, if you want to send a comment in on that. And thanks to the thousands and thousands of people who've sent in comments to FERC over the last couple of weeks. We'll see you inside the meeting.
All right. Thanks for watching. If you did, I'm going to shut down the live stream. Take care, y'all.